not have time nor the energy to put it into PowerPoints. And it's a good thing because this room is not big enough for a projector to have it on the screen, so it wouldn't have worked anyway, so I would have just wasted a bunch of time. But I have a bunch of these. When you guys go home, like seriously, like there's a lot you'll see at the end of this. This is like everything that I've ever thought about in my head that's gotten me to where I am today. Like in bullet point format, very easy to understand. So this is worth a lot of money. So know that like when you go home with this, like I want you guys to reference it. I have a link I'll give you to, so you can always have, if you lose it, you can download the PDF. But it's like step by step. Like, I mean, there's stuff obviously I'm going to talk about that's not on here that just wouldn't make sense to put there. But you'll be able to relate it 100% to like what I was saying to this. And that was like the, I think it actually worked out better that there's not a PowerPoint on the wall right now. So, all right. So the first page here, this is the first. I kind of called this the keynote. Like I wanted to kind of set the stage for kind of like what I consider an icon to be and where I think the internet is going for what people would consider to be an icon. Do you need to do anything, or are we good? All right, cool. So I'm actually, if you guys watch the show like Made in America, have you ever seen that? Yes. Like it's a documentary. If you haven't seen it, it's very interesting, it's fascinating. It's like Rockefeller, Carnegie, Henry Ford. Those guys are like icons. Like those are like people are like, man, these guys like literally changed the world. I mean, Rockefeller was like, digging oil out of nowhere, and like, Carnegie's like building railroads to go across. Like, we don't have to do that shit. You guys, you don't have to make a fucking railroad to make money and make a mark in the world. And that it's very, it's very easy to do to start putting content out there, but it's also very difficult to do because you're not just competing with, like, when they were doing that, like, you're just one crazy motherfucker named Rockefeller, you're gonna find some oil. Like, there wasn't a lot of competition. He didn't have to deal with too many people. He was just like, I gotta figure out how to do this nutso shit that nobody knows what it is yet, but they'll figure it out. Like, you guys are dealing with, like, especially with like Instagram and YouTube, like, you have kids just uploading videos from their phone. You have moms that are taking pictures of their food. There's a lot more competition. So we're gonna get into like really how to drill down on that, but I wanted to say, like, you guys, the world right now, it's so vast with opportunity to do this, and it doesn't matter if it's YouTube, if it's Instagram, if it's Snapchat, if it's email, if it's blogging. The platform is pretty much irrelevant, but just know, like, even if, like, I know a lot of people are like, the markets are saturated, this, that, it's like they're not. Because if you guys understand one thing when you come out of this, it's just that repetition and just continuing to keep doing something will you will win eventually. I can't tell you how long that will be. It may be a really fucking long time, but you will win. Like, something will happen. And I've always come into that. That's why I have 700 YouTube videos right now. I was just like, I started and I was just like, I'm just gonna keep making videos until something happens. And you find, like, you get momentum. It's like I tell you with your podcast, like 100 podcasts is a cool number, but 1,000's better, and that's like work, like blog posts, same way. Like, if you just keep putting content out, things will happen and things will start to change, and eventually money will come. It's just, I don't know how it's gonna come or where or how much, but it will. So I just want to say that, like, because I think a lot of people, they get discouraged, one, by how vast and how much competition it is out there, because the reality is it is very competitive, but it's not, it's like Gary Vaynerchuk likes to say, you're dealing with like children and kids and moms, and there's still, if you just tape yourself up a little bit, it's very easy to make that mark. So, and also it's very easy because you don't have to, I mean, I would have no idea how to make a railroad. Like, I don't know where to start for that, but the guys did that back then with no resources and nothing. And now we have all this awesome, vast stuff. So I wanted to set the tone there for, you guys have a lot easier, and it's much easier now. And you can still leave, like, people will, 15, 20 years from now, like, people are gonna remember, like, PewDiePie the same way they do, like, Rockefeller. Like, and that's pretty crazy considering he's just a YouTuber who plays video games. But, like, that's the level. Like, Kim Kardashian, love her or hate her, but more people know her than probably Henry Ford. I mean, and that's the sad reality. Like, but that is, they follow Justin Bieber. Like, Justin Bieber can sneeze on Instagram and get a million views. I mean, that is where people are putting their attention. So it's like, don't fight that. Just know that that's happening. But, the times are changing. Like, there's always a place for, like, somebody who's going to do, like, you have the Steve Jobs, you have the Mark Zuckerbergs, like, those guys, like, they're changing the face. Like, I mean, Elon Musk is literally changing humanity. I mean, but Kim Kardashian is more popular than him. Either you accept that or you say, this is stupid, I can't believe you fucking idiots watch that lady. It's like, no, well, she's got something right, you know, so. But just know that going in, like, it's good to set that presence, but, like, if you have a message, which I'm pretty much sure everybody in this room has an inspirational message or, like, a reason to be giving content to the world, and if you don't, you'll figure it out eventually, but that will set you apart from the Kim Kardashian sneezing. I mean, it may not be that big, but you'll make money and have a good following for what you're doing. But because for whatever reason, the world loves them. So, but it's crazy when you just think about like what the celebrities and the amount of reach that they have, and like, you know, Donald Trump and even, you know, the Obama campaign. Like, I mean, Kardashian reaches more people than Trump. She has more influence than the president. Like, that could really fuck some shit up. Like when Kanye said he was going to run for president, it's like, oh boy. This could get weird, like, you know, like, because they have the power to do that. They can rally up the audiences that they have. I mean, if I was watching the VMAs the other night, and I forget who it was, she was like, if everybody in this room rallied around one singular cause, like, they could do, like, damage or a lot of good. Like, and it's crazy to think about. So that's, I mean, you have to respect what you're getting into, but also know that, like, you can do some fucking crazy shit. And make people do some stuff. Like, what are you gonna learn with influence today? Like, it is very manipulative. Like, you're gonna learn some behind the curtain, some dark shit, and then you're gonna be able to call me out on it now when you see me doing it, because it's very, you know, once you know it, you're like, oh shit, he's marketing to me now, I feel it. Like, and it's like, now it's like when I go to buy stuff, it's like, oh shit, damn, what is he doing to me? Like, I wanna buy that. Like, Ty Lopez had me ready to buy a social media course the other night. Like, I'm like, damn, like, it's $500. Like, so just know, like, but it's a good power to have. But just what you're gonna learn is, like, you got to know, like, it's, you know, like Kim Kardashian can do a lot of damage, she can do a lot of good as well. So know that going in. So, all right, so let's go. So the three main problems I see with those building brands today, and I think I broke this down into like threes and numbers because I feel like people relate to that better, like easier. They can, you know, relate to that. But most people I see, especially now, especially with what YouTube is, I think people are coming in today choosing their own platforms. And we're going to get deep into demographics and stuff, but I'm probably not wrong in assuming that everybody thinks it's pretty cool to be a YouTube celebrity in this room. Like, but going forward, I don't think that a lot of people will make it on YouTube. There's certain personality types that make it on different things and different platforms. Like, if you're an introverted guy, you're not going to make it on YouTube. It's just not, you don't have the charisma. But instead of trying to fight that and go against it, you do audio. You know, I mean, I don't know your whole personality, but I'm just saying, like, there's channels for everybody to succeed. And I think a lot of people get too fixated on one specific thing because that's what's cool. And like we were talking yesterday, like, I'm very fixated on YouTube, and part of my ego is drawn to that. So it's hard to fight that. So this is something even I deal with, like whether or not, like, and I struggle, like, is that my platform, or should I just focus on Instagram, or maybe I should be good on audio? I don't know. You won't really know until you try them all and kind of get your wings going. But eventually you also have to not be attached to something because it's cool. So a lot of people you see get very attached to a personality or a persona that they're showing online, and they can't change. So, and you'll start seeing that as well, now that I pointed it out, because there's a lot of people, especially in my world, in fashion, I see it happen all the time. Some people just shouldn't be on video. But they know that there's other options for that. It's just a matter of recognizing it right away, not letting your ego get away, and moving forward with something else. And like I said, you're going to try, you're going to fail, and it's going to, you know, you just keep moving forward. Next up, they blend in with what's already being done. They're not polarizing. When I started making videos for fashion, I saw a clear gap, as in most people were too afraid to say what they were implying. And that was that if you wear this, girls will have sex with you. So I think my second and third video were like, wear this, get laid, do this, do this. And those videos are some of the most popular on my channel. Those are and now you watch, if anybody follows a lot of the guys that's out, now this is normal now. This is what they talk about. I've been doing it 3 years ago. Like, so needless to say, like, you know, eventually people bigger than you might steal what you're doing, but you can't mess with the timestamp on YouTube. Like, it'll come back full circle with that. This guy's been talking about it way before. And so just know that if you're thinking about going into something and there's like a clear and defined gap of something, like, you know, like, dude, I don't know why they're not saying that, that was what got my channel noticed. And when I went to, I was asked to speak at StyleCon the first year, like I didn't know anybody else. I mean, it's like everybody thought I knew everybody, but like Antonio just reached out to me, who runs Real Man Real Style. And at the time, he had like 700,000 subscribers. And he's like, I can see that you're making disruptions in our niche, and I think it's cool. And he's like, I think you have a lot of value to share. And like when I went there, like Aaron Marino didn't really like me, didn't really know who I was. Like I was cussing a lot. Like, but that's what got me into that. You know, from that, then I get shouted out on Antonio's channel. I did this, all this happened because I was just like, I accepted the fact that like, all right, I'm gonna go polarizing and it's gonna suck. Because just know when you do that, a lot of people don't like you. You can just read my YouTube comments to see that, you know, so there's, you know what you're getting into as well. And if you don't have the personality that can handle that type of, you know, people attacking you, don't do that. Because that's like a roadblock that will stop you. Like, you don't get too much hate on audio. Like, you know, I mean, I'm sure there is.
Putting out a lot of content, though. Like, people that put out 1 episode a week are like, who's this guy that's putting out like 4 episodes a week?
Yeah. Well, you'll piss off, but...
This guy's really excited. He's going to fizzle out.
But the real, yeah, that's another thing, too. And managing expectations, and like we'll get into that more, but managing what you can accomplish when you start. I think a lot of people get, like, they fail before they even begin because they, like we were talking yesterday, like, I know I can tell people how to do my Instagram stories, but they're fucking hard. I know that, like, leaving, if somebody leaves here and does them for 30 days, something will be better for them. Because I know it's like, when I started, they were taking me an hour or 2 a day to do a 15-second video. And I wasn't expecting to get paid from them. So it was just like, what? And they weren't even that fun to begin with. Like, I was like, I'm just gonna do this because I see an opportunity. But most people don't have that resilience and that fortitude. Like, so no going in. Like, but if you, like, I could never, like, I couldn't see myself blogging every day. But like, Coy makes some fucking awesome blogs. Like, so like, that's a strength for him. You know, like, I couldn't do that. Like, when it comes to writing, I can write emails every day. But when it comes to like, I mean, he takes good pictures. He has the accompanying video. Like his are like, you know, his blog's gonna be like a landmark for years. Like, I mean, probably even like, you know, forever. I mean, it's not going anywhere once it's online. But that's like a straight, you know, so no, I would never go like, I'm gonna go all in on blogging. Even if blogging was the most popular thing right now, like I couldn't do it. Like I would fail, you know, unless I paid somebody to do it for me. You know, so no, so manage your expectations and like, decide if there is, because if you can be polarizing, you will win faster. Like, and but you have to be willing to accept what's gonna come. I mean, I was the first one to, like, I mean, like, I'm like the internet advocate for skinny jeans. Like, only because I saw nobody was doing it, and I'm like, well, if one guy's gotta do it, I guess it should be me. You know, and so that's, like, it's funny, but, I mean, because I was not afraid to make those videos, I mean, one of my most popular videos is why big guys should wear skinny jeans. Because I knew everybody was telling people, don't wear skinny jeans if you're big. So if you have that ability in whatever you're doing, it's very easy to make waves that way. So, but just, like I said, know what's coming your way if you do. And this third problem is they don't produce enough content. And this kind of builds off the last one. You have to go into something knowing that you're going to have to be able to continually produce when you don't want to produce, even if it's like it kills you. You know, like when it comes to stories or like YouTube videos, like if you want to make a name for yourself on YouTube, you got to be doing 5 videos a week. Like that's just a minimum. Like guys, like there's channels growing like a channel called Evan Carmichael, I forget his name, channel name. He does like 3 videos a day. Like, I mean, so, and that's, I don't know. Like, I'd love to talk to him. I mean, but at that level there, like I said, you have to realistically manage your expectations. If most people in this room don't have the capacity to do 5 videos a week. Like, I can't do it. I've tried. Like, 3 videos a week for me right now, plus keeping up with Instagram stories, plus sending an email every day, plus running live events, plus you have to manage your expectations, you know? So it's like, you know, in everything you do, like, and a lot of people might argue and say that that's like small, limited beliefs or small thinking. I don't. I think it's way more strategic. You know, like I said, like I'm backing a little bit away from YouTube but focusing on Instagram. Only because I know I don't have the creative power. You know, and then you factor in life. Everybody likes to not factor in life. I mean, I have a child. You have 5 kids. You got to be damn sure when you're going to do some work that it's going to pay off. You know, like, and I mean, there's going to be some mistakes, but like, you know, when you don't have all day, like, you know, I can't hustle every day like Gary Vee says. Like, it's not possible. You know, if I did, I'd have to pay a nanny double the money, and it would cost me more money to go do my job. Like, and those are, once again, like managing expectations. I got to know what I can get done from the hours of 10 to 3, and then I block that time, and I just get that shit done. So, but those are like, I just see those things happen over and over. I see people come, fizzle out, die, or like, you know, and it's the ones that just keep showing up. Like, if you can only do 1 video a week, but you commit to doing 1 video a week for the next 5 years, you're gonna win. You know, it may not be, you may not get paid for a while, but eventually you will win. You know, as opposed to you come out and do like 60 videos and then you're done. You burnt yourself out. Like, you say, fuck it, I'm just gonna go work at Home Depot. Like, because that happens every day, and it's gonna continue to get worse and worse and worse, because people are gonna get inundated with, I gotta be on Snapchat, I gotta be on Instagram, I gotta be doing podcasts, I gotta be doing this. So just keep that in mind, manage those 3 things, or like, just get clear on those. Which platform works for you, how much you can realistically put out, and if you can be polarizing in some way. And everybody here can probably think of one way and whatever they're gonna do to be a polarizing topic. And like, I honed in on skinny jeans and the getting laid by how you dress very early on. And I think that that is the #1 factor as to why my videos popped off the way they did when they started. So, you know, but you gotta like, it was easier for me back then because there wasn't as much competition. So you have a lot more competition now. So there may not be that polarizing thing, and that's where you come in, that you can beat them on a repetition. Like, and we'll get into that more, but, so I want to get those away. So now we're going to get into my story and kind of what I've never really gone that deep into my background. I've mentioned it in, you know, videos, but I got started online. I mean, my mom remembers I worked at Lowe's. I was on the I was gone through all the management trainings, and I read one book called The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss, and I thought that was the coolest thing ever. I think he's full of shit. And I would quote them this book. Like, I had read it cover to cover, and like, I was like trying to sell my parents on like, I'm gonna work 4 hours and everything's gonna be great, I'm gonna be rich. Well, that was totally wrong, but the book there was one section in the book and it talked about passive income, which was like the holy grail of life, you know? Getting paid when you sleep sounds so awesome, you know? What I was soon about to find out was, yeah, you get paid when you sleep, but you gotta work all day to get paid when you sleep. So, I had a niche, like we all do. I had an idea. I was racing BMX. I was one of the top amateurs, and I really wanted to go pro, but I worked at Lowe's, and I had a really good full-time job. And, you know, I had that path was pretty much working itself out for me. Like, if I would have stayed at Lowe's, I probably would have multiple stores. Like, it would have gone really well. Like, I would have, you know, that was like, but I don't think I would like the person I would be if I was that guy running multiple Lowe's. But I decided one day that I was like, you know, I wanted to turn pro on my bike, and I wanted to figure out this like passive income thing. So I turned pro. They let you do that. It was, I don't remember what I had to do to turn pro. It was like, because yeah, like, because if you did good, like at enough races, you had the eligibility. So I just turned. Shortly after, I went part-time at Lowe's to train the other half of the time.
How old were you?
It was just like 22, 23-ish. I was on the verge of like, if I don't do this, I'm not going to be able to do this. Like, because I didn't know, like, I thought I was going to be able to go to the Olympics. I had grand dreams of being an amazing pro, which we'll talk about in a second, managing expectations. You know, I did that. I went part-time. I was working part-time at Lowe's. I was training. I was doing like training other BMXers on the side. I was like, wow, I got this gift. I can coach people. I have this knowledge. I read this book. I'm like, let me put all this information into like something tangible, and let me get rich selling BMX training products. And at the time, nobody was really doing it. I was like, once again, it's like being the trendsetter. You want to always be on the front of something. Training in BMX was very like prestigious. Like, it was only available to like people that lived in California or were, I'm not gonna say well off, but they did charge a lot of money for their trainings. But it was prestigious. Like, not everybody had access to like the people that were training the guys that were probably gonna go to the Olympics. So I saw this opportunity, and I was very much into like strongman training. If you guys are familiar, there's a site, Underground Strength Coach. It's run by a guy, Zach Evanesh. And I was watching what he was doing, teaching this weird, like flipping tires and sandbags and carrying sleds. And he had once again, watching what he was doing to me to market. Like, you guys get really good at that. Like, invest in courses and coaching and masterminds and everything, because you get that skin in the game, but watch what people are doing to you and how you're feeling when it's happening. Because once I started flipping the switch and watching how people were marketing to me and what I was able to get out of it, I learned a lot of cool things happen. So, and that, I think he had a membership site. It was like he dropped a lot of training videos in there. And I was looking at this site, how it was made. I was like, I can do this for BMXers. This is pretty cool. But I joined the site. It was like $10 a month, and I met a guy inside the forum. That guy is now Elliot Hulse. We just happened to be in the forums. Like, I was active in the community that this guy, Zach Evanesh, had built. And Elliot was like, yeah, I got this strength camp that I'm doing in the park. And honestly, the first strength camp, as big as it is now, happened maybe 10 minutes from here. Like, in a park with like 4 people, and I was one of them. You know, like, but I showed up, and Elliot was like this really intimidating guy, but, you know, I was just like, yo, that's just like somebody I need to be friends with. And you'll meet people that you're like, you don't really know, like I said, like everybody in this room right now, you don't really know who's gonna hit it big or what, or maybe nobody does, but like, you have a feeling, like, yo, I should just be around this guy. So that was like Elliot Hulse, and I was that annoying kid who never like left his side. I don't know what he thought about me at first, but I was, he ended up, fast forward a little bit, like I was just, I had like a couple sponsors. I was getting, you know, I got a lot of some free stuff and going to all these races. And I was making a little bit of money racing, enough to like go to the races, but not to like live. I was training people in front of at the garage. I remember I moved back home, and I was like, when I worked at Lowe's, I did save a lot of money, but I had nothing to spend it on because I was like working 60 hours a week. And so I just kept buying gym equipment. I was like, yeah, I'm into this. So like, I bought like the best sled that you could buy. I bought like there's a company called Iron Mind. They make these awesome portable squat racks. I bought those, like $1,000. Like, I don't even know what happened to them now. Like, they're gone. Like, but so I was buying all this equipment, and like I was like, I had to move back home. I'm too broke to pay my stuff, and of course my parents let me move back in, and I turned the garage into a gym, which I'm sure you guys weren't too thrilled about, and I had these people just coming over and training BMXers, and I was like, I saw like a niche, like I could teach BMXer stuff, so that. And then my dad just happened to he knew video, so I was using my resources that were at my disposal. That's the reason I went to video first. It wasn't because I thought it was better, but I knew my dad, I could beg him to make me a DVD that was cool. And so I could start with like a good advantage. So I did that, but really the DVD, looking back, was mainly made with back then they had flip cams, which is like a camera that looks like a little bit thicker than your cell phone, and it like popped out like this, and it like, you plugged it right in. It was the coolest invention ever, but like looking back now, like the quality on them are really terrible.
HD.
Yeah, it was like, yeah, they had the HD eventually, but this is like before HD. Like YouTube wasn't a thing yet when I was doing all this. So I filmed that. I used like footage from that, filming exercises on a tripod, talking to it between my dad with like his nice camera, filming me doing some cool stuff. And then it took a while, but the whole while I was doing this, Elliot Hulse was making his first product, which is called Gridiron Domination, which is a football strength training product. He was writing it, and he was like banging away. And we made a bet with each other that we were gonna like, who could get it done first. And he ended up winning only because it took about a week for me to get the actual DVD put into the DVDs. I didn't really understand that process, but once again, like most of what I do, I just kind of start it and figure out as I go along, hence this event. And that's a skill that you will develop. Like, perfection isn't always, it's not pretty, you know, when you're trying to get it. It gets better with time, but getting started was the thing. So I got this DVD, and I went to my first race. It was in West Palm. I'll never forget it. I thought everybody was going to buy my DVD, and nobody gave a shit about my DVD. You know, I had it in my backpack, and I was going around between races, like, trying to sell it. And the one lady, that was like the game-changing moment, was like, oh, I'd love to buy it. I don't have any cash, but what's your website? And I was like, so I wrote down ryanmagin.com, and I was like, yeah, just go Monday, and it'll be there.
That's awesome.
Like, so I come back home, I'm all excited. I'm like, I gotta make a website. And the first thing I did was I paid a friend to make me a website, which is the worst thing you guys should ever do. Don't pay any of your friends to make you websites. Like, learn how to do it yourself. So I waited like 2-3 weeks, And here I am thinking like I'm losing all this money, like all these people were gonna come to the race, like they saw me, which I didn't win. Like I was like, you know, I was in the finals, but like I'm not the guy everybody's talking about. You know, so it's like eventually my friend gets me this website. It was good enough. It was pretty cool. It was very graphic designy. It had a lot of my pictures on it, which is, you'll learn by the end of this weekend, that shit don't make you any money. Like it makes you look cool, but you don't make any money from a good graphically enriched website. But I did start selling them online, mainly because I was like, man, how am I gonna get people to find this? And I decided, hey, nobody is teaching training advice for free. So I took out that same flip cam, and I learned a lot of this because I was just copying what Elliot was doing. Elliot was trying to use his video to get new clients into the Strength Camp gym, which is like the old one before it was what it is now. And I saw like it was actually working. Like he'd make a video, and a few days later somebody would call, and then they would come in to like train. I'm like, oh, maybe I can do that and just, you know, put a video out there. Somebody will find it, and you know, they'll buy my DVD. And to a degree, that is the exact same formula I use today. So it was a good thing to start doing. But in doing that, you discover it's like, I started doing videos, and I was like, I'm gonna win on repetition because the quality of this is okay. You know, I'm not gonna win production medals or anything, but I'm just gonna kill people with volume. But I learned early on that I needed to get people from the video to my email list to sell them my DVD. And that was what I learned basically from copying, because Elliot's learning all this shit like on his own. He's investing in courses, and I'm like, I'm broke. Yeah. Luckily, I mean, he let me do that. So, but I was implementing too, which is one thing he always said. He's like, there was one thing I learned about Ryan was that he would just figure shit out. Like I just kept going and doing it. And I just kept putting out videos every day, and I'd do the same thing every day. I'd make a video, and then I'd send an email from my email list, which was really small but growing. My mom was the first one on it. And it would go, I just emailed to the video. And eventually it went from like 2 people, 3 people, 100 people, 200 people. But when it started doing that, I would get sales. And it wasn't a lot of sales, but it was enough to kind of keep me going. So now I was selling this DVD, you know, making enough money to barely pay my bills, you know, and I was sponsored, I was going to these races. But what I started noticing at the races was I had a following of people, and it wasn't so much the kids, it was all the parents. Like the parents were following me because they were using my videos to train their kids. So I had, when I would go up for the races, and like it was crazy, like I would get a ton of fan support, and I'd get like 8th place. Like, and people didn't understand it, and I started pissing off all the other trainers because they're like, he's discrediting everything. I mean, I used to get hate mail from like one of the biggest trainers in the niche. Like he hated me. Like now he follows me and does what, probably copies me because he's still in that niche. But they saw that like I was disrupting the industry, like I was giving this shit away for free, which isn't a solid, good business model because I wasn't selling anything. I still had my DVD and it was selling okay. But what I learned, you know, what I did right, like, and this I have what I did right, what I did wrong. The video and the free content made me like a trendsetter, and I had disrupted an industry in the BMX world that nobody else had done before. Like I said, I had raving fans, like I had kids coming up to me. It was awesome, but like all this was happening, and I was like, I could barely survive. Like I was broke, you know. And leading into what I did wrong, the market wasn't big enough for what I was trying to do. At best, because I even started advertising on some of the websites that were popular in the BMX niche. I was sending people to a squeeze page, which is where you get their email. I was doing everything I could to be like what you would do today that should make you win, but the market wasn't big enough. And the market had broke tendencies. The barrier of entry, and I'm a really big believer in like something I call high dollar hobbies, as far as like when you're getting into niches, you have to look at what's being spent for somebody to buy something in that niche. For example, like I'm an avid cyclist. Just to suit up to walk out your door, you're wearing like $700. Not everybody can afford that. BMX was like, you know, these were the signs I was saying. Like BMX was it wasn't that expensive. A bike, even a nice bike you're looking at, you can get away with a bike for around $1,500. You know, like, eh.
That's a good one.
Yeah, and that's a really good one.
I'm selling like $400.
Exactly. So, you know, like skateboarding is not a good niche to go into because a skateboard's $100. You know, like, so these are like, look for these telltales. Like, fashion's a great niche because people spend a lot of money on clothes. You know, real estate, people spend a lot, so you have to look at these different things. Like, if you're thinking like, I have a passion, but can I make money from this passion? Look at what's being spent in that passion. Like, there's a reason like golf and cycling. And then you have even the people doing it become successful, because people that I ride road bikes with, I was just talking to Danny, there's a coffee shop right over here, it's owned by a cyclist, but he knew that he would never make it like as a cyclist, making money from just selling bikes. So he created a coffee shop with a bike shop and a bar in it. It's pretty cool, it's right over here. I was gonna take you guys there, but it's closed at noon today because of the hurricane. But, yeah, whatever. But look at those telltale signs of like, if you're like with trucking, like what are truckers spending their money on? You know, pole vaulters, are they spending money on stuff? Like, can you make money just from like teaching pole vaulting? Like, look at these things before you go all in, you know? And I went all in, and what happened was a couple things. After about a year of doing it, I still wasn't making it. I was very burnt out, like I said, managing expectations. I was doing like a video every day. I didn't even want to go to the bike races anymore because the bike races were not races anymore. They were, you know, a chance for me to sell DVDs. And I had to sell DVDs, or half the time I couldn't even afford to drive myself home. You know, so, you know, there's value in the effort of doing that and taking those risks, but like looking back now, there was a lot of signs right away that were showing me that this is not going to be the thing that you're going to get rich on. So, but going back, I would have still done it. You know, it's like because of what I learned. The skills that I acquired in doing that were HTML, PHP, which is basic coding. I think everybody should take at least a coding class. For the most part, I think it's like less than $100, like at most of the local colleges. Like, I'm sure, I don't know, they probably have one at your school. Like, I mean, it's even cheaper. Like, you can, if you really want a specific coding help, you can go on Craigslist and pay somebody $50 to show you how to code, like basic stuff. But because I learned that, I was able to make my own websites, and I didn't have to wait for my friends to make this, or I didn't have to spend money. And when you're starting these things, like, money is the biggest issue. Like, yeah, it's dope to have somebody filming and making your content for you, but he's not going to be there every day, you know. And that's the speed and the repetition is something that you have to be able to produce good enough with what you have, you know, over and over and over again. So, but learning that, I did teach myself a lot of skills that, I mean, HTML and PHP is kind of falling out. Like, we have, like I was talking about, we have, like, there's like ClickFunnels, lead pages. There's a lot of software now that you pay like $100 a month, and it does all that for you. And all you have to do is kind of like drag boxes around and get creative and try stuff. But when I do that, I'm way faster, and I see, because I know how it works behind the scenes. So it's good to have an understanding of that basic skills. You know, I'm not saying anybody like takes like a 52-week course on how to be an expert level coder, unless that's what you're into. You know, because coders still make a lot of money. Like, there's like that ClickFunnels that's being made by coders. You know, so it's like, it's a good skill to have. Photoshop. We were talking yesterday. A lot of people want to be a YouTube creator, but what they don't realize is that I spend more time creating the thumbnail than I do filming the actual video. And Danny does that. I mean, how long do you spend on Elliot's thumbnails? Yeah, I mean, but it's a skill. You have to know how to use Photoshop, like Illustrator, to make these thumbnails look super engaging and eye-catching so your videos get watched. Because you could have the best videos, but if your thumbnail and your screenshot sucks, nobody's going to watch you. And if they do watch you, they're just watching to make fun of you. Like, you know, so learning basic Photoshop skills. And once again, I'm not saying that you need to be an expert level Photoshop person. You just need to know your way around what's going on. So like, it works for two ways. One, you can do shit yourself. And two, if I need to pay somebody to do something, I can tell them exactly what I want. And I think a lot of people lack those two basic skills. Like, because there was a boom, I think like a year or two ago, where everybody was preaching outsourcing, outsource this, outsource that. And it was cool, like outsourcing is awesome, but if you don't know how to explain what you want, you're not gonna get what you want back. And you're gonna waste money trying to like revise and this and that. So by spending some time early on in this like let's say first year of you doing stuff, like your transitional year, these skills will pay you over and over and over again. Basic video editing skills and filming. Because I was using the flip cam on the tripod, there wasn't a whole lot of editing involved. It's like cutting the ends. But I started early on. I learned iMovie. I learned like these, because I had to. Couldn't pay somebody to make these videos for me. So it's like, I got to figure this shit out or else videos aren't going to get done. So I learned basic video editing, which now all I do is edit. I didn't know that then. I was just trying to put videos out. Like I would never consider myself an editor, back then. But it was a skill that I learned and used because I needed to. It was a necessity. So that's what I did wrong and right. But yeah, just to recap that, like if you're thinking about it, like especially like a niche like basketball, like things that are very specific, look at what people are spending money on and how much they're spending and the repetitive spending that happens. Like cycling, it's a very repetitive spending. Like your bike's always breaking. There's always like guys trying to outdo each other with better bikes, better parts. Same with golf. Like, even some massively like go-kart racing, like things like, I don't think anybody is gonna like talk to go-kart racers, but like these are things, like these are blatant signs. Like if you can figure out a way to make money, they're gonna spend it with you. So look at that going in if you're thinking about a niche if you are unclear of where you're gonna go. So that was a BMX. That was like my start. And that went on, I would say about 2 years. And I did burn myself out hard. I got kind of depressed for a little bit. Like I was fighting with my parents a lot. I actually got arrested during that time frame. It was a bad time, but that led me to what I'm talking about now, affiliate marketing, which is a very lucrative, and a lot of guys make a lot of money selling other people's stuff. And what affiliate marketing is basically I have a product, I pay you a commission if you sell it. And the cool thing about that is most of what we do, a lot of it is digital, so there's no overhead. So guys like me will pay you 100% commission. Because I know that if somebody sells one of my products, especially now, like they're probably gonna come to an icon eventually. So I made at least $100. So I can spend $10 and give you $10 and not without anything in return. Now, there are lots of other affiliate programs that, there was some shit I was selling, some supplements that all they were giving away a free bottle. Like it's the free plus shipping stuff. And they would pay me $55. Now, I thought I was making money. No, they got their shit on point. If they can spend $40 over the cost of what it is to buy. So this is like affiliate, now I don't recommend like people get too heavy into the affiliate world because it doesn't really establish you as a brand. And I'll talk about that. But this is what I did right. Like I knew that, so in using your skills, like as you're learning and kind of failing forward, I knew I had, okay, BMX wasn't necessarily like a lucrative market, but I still knew how to train people and I still knew fitness. So I just kind of like started talking about, now mind you, I had built this email list. There's about 3,000 people of BMXers. I just said, well, if they like BMX training, they're probably just gonna like regular working out. So I'm just gonna keep talking about it. So I just stopped talking about BMX. I pretty much quit riding, which is another thing as far as, I realized that I was too good. For a while, my ego was attached to being a pro BMX racer. I was too good to be an amateur, but I wasn't good enough to be a top professional. And now that I realized that, I'm like, oh, that's cool. But back then, that was a hard thing to swallow. And I just took a while, but finally I got over that. And I'm like, this isn't where I'm going to get rich and make the name for myself. And if anybody comes from that athletic background, you're probably very attached to an athletic endeavor. It's a very hard thing. It's a hard pill to swallow. But I urge you to get over that shit because there's better stuff out there. So I went into the teaching fitness and I used that same email list that I had been building. And I was like, how do I get credibility in a niche where everybody was already pretty popular? I just started interviewing everybody. And this strategy is not as effective now because it was new then. I did have early mover advantage. Basically, if you interview enough people, eventually they will kind of like pimp out your interview for you. And what people used to do was to get people on the interview, like let's say you had an audience and I wanted to interview you, I would pretty much lie about my audience to get you on the interview, and then I would put up a squeeze page to get your email, say, hey, register for the call. You would mail your list to this page, and I would gather all these fans of yours. I'd get their email. I used that strategy, and I interviewed like 27 people in the fitness niche. Towards the end, it was a lot less effective because people kind of figured out what I was doing. But I had early mover advantage. I saw an opportunity to do that. Nobody was doing it. So I'm like, I get all these emails and interview the people. Now, what I did after that, I treated them good, like I do now. Like, you guys are on my email list. I don't just send garbage. Like, so the people, like, yeah, people got pissed and left, but they kept staying. So interviewing is a really good thing. It's just not as effective now because a lot of people did what I did, like, after me, and like now, like, I will not mail to anybody's fucking page for an interview. Like, I may have posted it in my Facebook group or like, but even still, that's good credibility. Like, even if I like drop an interview in my Facebook group with like, hey, I did this interview, you know, with so-and-so, it's awesome. You know, especially like, you know, minute 13, I gave a really good gem. Like, I would do that now. A lot of people would. That gives you credibility, but that doesn't necessarily build your audience very quickly. That ship has kind of sailed. So I did that. That was like the first thing I did. Then I created video bonuses, which is something, and this was kind of like later on, I realized it come to help me as far as making products. I created like, so let's say Key has a product that I interviewed you and you have a dating product. I would first know going in, okay, I'm gonna make money selling his dating product, but not much because I'm selling it back to the same people that he already, you know, I only have his audience on the line, they probably already bought it. But I would then create a short, I mean, back then it was like PDFs, because that's what I was doing. I wasn't doing too much. I was kind of scared to put myself as a brand, so I was doing more written stuff. I would just say, so he had, like, let's say he had a dating product. I said, okay, well, I'm going to create a 10-page PDF that has, you know, the 10 best workouts to do before you go on a date. And I knew basic Photoshop skills, so I'd create like a digital cover, and I would say, hey guys, if anybody buys Key's program during the call, you're gonna get this bonus from me. Nobody was doing this back then. And now, not only was I generating new sales for him because people were buying strictly to get my cool bonus, and there was a lot, like, we'll talk about that later, but I made these things fucking awesome. Like, they are products, like, and I treated them as such. But what happened was that I didn't realize I was doing is I was building customers. Because to get my bonus, you had to give me your email. He got all the money, but I got a customer. Long-term approach. I wasn't making money right away, but you do that enough times, and we'll talk about that, you know, like as we go. But a person who spends $5 is a lot more valuable than somebody who spends $0. So I did that right. Let's see, interviewed experts, created video bonuses and PDFs, and I would eventually sell those just like, so after like the calls, I would say, hey guys, I had a lot of requests for, you know, this bonus. I'm just going to sell it for, you know, $10. And I make a few $100 selling, you know. And this is like super basic. There was no shopping carts. It was like people were going to like my PayPal cart, paying me $10, and I didn't have anything automated. I would just like, I had like a link that like I saw their name and email, and I just send it to them from my Gmail account. You know, like, so this is like before like a lot of automation, but you know, but it worked. It was like I didn't know what I was doing, but I was figuring it out. And then another thing that was pretty much unheard of back then was emailing every day. I found that if I emailed a call once, not very many people showed up, but if I emailed like 15 times, a lot of people showed up. So I just started emailing more and more and more. And anybody in the, like, still to this day, people are afraid of that. Like, I don't know why. Like, you know, only thing that happens is inside your Aweber account, people unsubscribe. Like, that used to be a blow to my ego, and now it's like, cool, it's like I'm paying less money per month because you got off my email list. Like, you know, so don't be afraid. I mean, and this works for everything, even social. Like, this is like repetitive contact. You know, it's like these things matter now more than ever. And it was something that, like, once again, it's like nobody did it back then. It was like, why is this freaking, who is this kid, like, interviewing everybody and then emailing every day? Like, so disrupting the patterns, making myself known. But I didn't realize I was doing any of that. I was just like, it just kind of like made sense to me. I was like, well, what if they don't see that email I send on Monday? You know, they'll definitely see it if I email 13 times on Tuesday. It's like, so that was my rationality there. And that was, you know, now it's like you got to walk the fine line a little bit with how much you do email. Like, people do get pissed off now because they're more selective on who they're following, you know. But still, at least, and I mean, at least if you have something to sell or shit to promote, you need to be emailing about it. And you need to be sending people to it, whether like every day, sometimes twice a day. Because the most sales, and just for everybody knows, like, do you guys get annoyed when, like, if somebody says, like, there's a deadline happening and they email, like, every hour? That's because that's when all of the sales are coming in. People don't act. People, like, I mean, I don't know what it is. Like, I mean, and you guys may be different, but when I see something I wanted, I just buy it. Like, but even I'm triggered by, like, this is going to go away at midnight, because I know, like, most people, like, there's a way to get it after the sale ends. Like, if somebody emailed me, like, yo, Ryan, I want to buy this product, I'm not going to say, no, you can't have it. You know, but I still like, oh, shit, I got to, fuck, man, it's not working on my phone. I got to go home to my computer. And I'm like, so it's like scarcity works. And the only way to be scarce is, like, you got to repetitively talk about it. And you will piss people off, and they will leave your list. But the funny thing is a lot of people come back. Right? They get mad, and then they realize, I mean, I just never thought of it as a thing. To me, it's just email. I can just hit delete. Like, I don't care if you email me 15 fucking times. Like, whatever. I mean, I have like 280,000 unread emails in my fucking inbox. I don't care. So, like, don't attach, like, yes, you might make some people mad, but more repetition. So that was another thing I did right. Eventually made low dollar offers. And like I said, so I had an idea for a bonus. Because of how successful these little stupid bonuses were, like these $10 products I was making, a lot of people were selling ebooks for $47 and $67, which it's a lot of money for a digital information. Back then you could get away with it. Now you can't. Like, so, but I was like, fuck, I'll just sell a $9 one, and I'll just make 100 $9 products, and hopefully everybody if they buy half of them, I made like $500. So that was my mentality there. So I went all in on one product. Once again, I was looking for like a way to polarize or be different. And this is like testosterone was always testosterone in men's health is, I mean, 50 years from now, it's going to be a popular topic. So like, I knew that it had the tendency, there was going to be sales generated. So what I did was I created, I didn't create it at all, actually. I went on a site called Elance. I paid $240, and I had a girl write 100 ways to naturally increase your testosterone. Now, this is like when I lived with Danny, I was making this product, and he was like, what are you doing? And I was like, I got to figure out 101 ways, like, because I was just going to send her the 101 ways on like a document, and the whole thing was just write 250 words about each one and make sure it's correct, or show a study that makes it seem correct. That was my rationale. Not exactly the best, but it worked. So she wrote this whole product for me. I did what I do best, and I've always been big on good graphic covers. Like a lot of my products, they have cool covers. I think that everybody, if you're going to make a product, even if you're giving it away, you should invest in a cover, because people judge the book by the cover. And I also, like, we'll get into this more, but I think that you shouldn't need sales copy or anything to sell it. It should say it all in the cover. Like, if you guys, like, 100 ways to naturally increase your testosterone. You either want it or you don't. Very simple. 7 looks to make her want to fuck you. You either want them or you don't. You know, Insta icon, the 5 posts you must make. You either want it or you don't. Very simple and clear. And I didn't realize I was doing this, but that's just how, like, kind of my brain thought when I was doing it. So that product, I took the same mentality. Nobody was giving 100% commission. I couldn't afford to give 100% commission, but I gave 100% commission. This is before ClickBank, which is what I put it on to sell it. They didn't offer 100% commission. They do now. But at the time, they didn't. They would only let you do 75% commission. So I was doing the 75 maxed out, and then I would PayPal them the difference of what they were selling. And every time somebody mailed, I would sell hundreds of this little book. Now, I wasn't making any money. In fact, it was pretty much costing me money every time. But I got good with, like, I realized really quickly that if I put some products behind it, people buy them, which are called upsells. And I do have some strategy there, and I don't really have a lot in here about upsells, but if you guys have questions, I'll touch on it. But I realized that I was more I would sell more $50 products if I put a $9 product in front of it, which is a very weird thing to me. But so when you bought the $9 products, you were then hit with a never-ending flow of other products that I had created. And now when I make a product, just so now you guys are going to know like what I do, I create a product. The actual product I want to sell you is what's behind the product that I'm actually selling you.
Are you talking about loss leaders?
Yeah, like loss lead, like basically, I don't really care. Like I'm not trying to make money off the first product. It's the other stuff. And even now you have to, like now you got to be sensitive too because a lot of people do this. Like this is like years ago when it wasn't as popular. But you don't want to over-inundate people with too many offers right away. Like you need to have them in your arsenal ready to go. But like, I mean, you couldn't like exit out of my shit. Like I just kept throwing like shit at your face, and they're called one-click upsells. So all you do is click accept and you buy it. I had a lot of people buying shit that didn't mean to buy shit. It was like a customer service nightmare. But I learned, yeah. But definitely like, if you have an idea or in your mind for a giant course, that I mean, everybody here should get what they're worth as far as value, but the market's going to pay what they want. And I knew that the market would pay $9 for 101 ways. You know, but then I tried a bunch of shit after that. I couldn't actually, because I'm not an expert in that niche, I ran into a problem of I didn't really know what to sell them next. So I went to the polarizing angle, and I'm like, well, if they need men's help, testosterone, maybe they want to sell dating, maybe they want to get laid too. So I had all these people selling this testosterone book, and it was doing really well. Like I was making good money from it. It was like, I was building a really good buyer's list of customers. But on the back end, I was selling dating, one specific dating product which I really liked was the girlfriend activation system, but it was $100 commission for anybody that bought that product. So I knew that if 500 front-end sales came in, 50 $100 sales were going to come in. Like, and this wasn't the upsell flow. This was on the thank you page and the emails that people got after they bought. But what happened was the fitness industry doesn't really like the dating industry. So they found out that I was selling dating products on the back end, and everybody stopped selling my product. So I was like, oh, well, fuck it. By this time, I, was very much and very in-depth into style at this point, so I just kind of made the pivot, and that's, we'll get to that. But there's also a section there that goes under the affiliate marketing industry, which was kind of happening at the same time. A little bit before I started doing these interviews and stuff, I had learned SEO really well, and I mistakenly learned it. And this is not effective now at all, but it's worth mentioning because it's hilarious that it worked. I would create these, so I did this by accident. So because I wanted to sell more of specific people's products, I was always thinking about ways to how can I make this product seem cooler? And I'm like, well, it makes sense. If I send my email list to an interview and I put that interview on a site that kind of looks like their site, and I have my affiliate links on it, and that might work. So there was one product. You guys know, ever heard of Jason Ferrugia? He's a fitness guy. He has a really, really lucrative fitness business. But at the time, he had a product called Muscle Gaining Secrets, and it was like one of the first muscle building products online to really hit it big. Back when and he was a $47 product, 75% commission, so it was like $31 a sale is what I got. But I found out he was making a new product. And see, he thought I was still doing the BMX stuff at the time, so he's like, hey, I'm making more of a sports training-oriented product. It's called Triple Threat Muscle. I'd love to have you as an affiliate, because we're always looking for people to sell our stuff, because it's free advertising for us. So it's so I was like, yeah, I got that. I'll do that. So I did so I went online and I bought the domain triplethreatmuscles.com. And I went to WordPress because I knew coding by this point. I installed WordPress, which is like a blogging platform, and I used my skills to basically mimic his site. Well, what happened was, leading up to his product releasing, I knew I wanted to sell a lot of them. So I was I was writing my own content, but I was putting that content on this fake site. And I was like, so I would send my email list to this site, and they would read this content. But the product wasn't available yet. It like went live like on, let's say, Thursday. So like Monday I sent some content, Tuesday content, Wednesday, and I'm like, hey guys, Triple Threat Muscle is releasing tomorrow. Well, at this point, like I knew I'd make maybe like 30 to 40 sales. It was like a good promo for me. When it opened the doors on Thursday, I did like 150 sales, and I was like, it was like my first like $1,000 day on the internet, and I was like, what the fuck? Like I had no idea how I did it because I knew, well, what happened was Google ranked that site #1. Over his. So when everybody was making these, and everybody was Googling his product name, finding my site, they were just buying through my affiliate link. So once again, like accident, and I was like, ooh, there's an opportunity there. So I went to ClickBank Marketplace, and I went and I built sites for every single product in the health and fitness category on the marketplace, doing the same thing. And then I went outside of that, I went into like I stayed in the fitness realm because I knew like what products sold well. I had sites about buildbiggerarms.org, do that. Like I had all these sites going, and when the biggest and the coolest one I actually did was, you guys remember the show Jersey Shore? Well, so what I started doing was looking at Hollywood movies coming out, because what do actors go through? Giant transformations. What do people talk about? This so-called actor that's jacked and ripped. And I did it, so I was looking at reality TV because that was like a big thing on MTV, and this guy, The Situation, had abs. I'm like, well, he's probably gonna make a fitness product if his reality thing fails. So I bought thesituationworkout.org. And I made the same type of site, a 5-page site. That thing ranked #1. I knew what product to sell. Every Thursday when Jersey Shore aired, I made a few $100. Because people would watch him on TV, type in the Jersey Shore workout, my site was ranked #1, and they would buy the product I recommend.
So you were making money while you were sleeping.
Yeah. But what this is like, so at this point, I moved out of my parents' house. Like I moved it right down here, actually. There's a giant apartment complex. They're really expensive. I moved in there. I was making like a lot of money, or at least I thought it was a lot of money. I had like all this like, like I was like, I fucking made it. Like this little chip on my shoulder. Like I was traveling a lot. And all that, but it kind of worked together because on some of the sites I was building my email list, I got really good at it. I had at one point I think I had like almost 300 sites going, and I had it down to a system that I just picked out the domains, and then I had 2 Filipino employees that I found through Elance that built the sites and did everything. And then when I knew I wanted the site to rank, like I literally had it as a system. Like do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. 5 days later, do this. And then by like day 7, it was ranked at least in the top 3. It was calculated, it was very specific, and I was like, my goal was to get to like, I wanted it to be like a passive like $1,000 a day, and then I was gonna sell the entire network. That was like my brainchild. Like, and I was like, and I think I could have sold it all had I not waited. I got greedy, and I kept going, and then one day, this is right after Kristen, my girlfriend, who she'll be by later, I had moved into this building, moved out of my parents' house. Like now I'm living real life again. Like I'm like, I have all these bills, responsibilities. I meet my girlfriend. We move in together. We move into a 2-bedroom, which was twice the rent. And I was like, yeah, everything's fine. Well, Google hit like a button, and all my sites disappeared. And like overnight, they were gone. So
What did they change?
it was the panda update, which was such a cute animal. It really destroyed so much. But that was once again, it was a giant, like, had I cashed out like just 3 months earlier, I would have probably could have sold everything for around $100,000. I was looking into it. I had sold sites, and the cool thing about that was there was a lot, like I learned a lot about like the mechanics of like how the internet operates. Like there are people willing to pay for sites that are already doing well. So like I had 2 jobs. Like I was selling a lot of affiliate products, and I was selling, it was very manipulative as I wasn't selling the best products, I was selling the highest commission products. Like it was money for me. So I wasn't really, and I was building a list, like I was using some of those $10 products I had as free giveaways to get people on my email list. But like the list didn't know who I was. Like I was emailing every day, but they didn't really know me. But it was still working, like money was still coming in, so I thought I was like invincible. I sold a couple of the sites to some people. My biggest one was, I had some really good domains, and if you, like, it sucks that you can't do this now, but like I had increasedtestosteronenaturally.org, and naturally I was like, this is before I even created my own 101 Ways. Had I had that site with that product, I would have made bank. Because that site was getting like 5,000 views a day. I ended up selling that whole site for, I think it was like $5,000 to a guy. I don't know what he ended up doing with it. I think it's still there, I don't know. But, so like some sites sold for like little chunks of money. And that's why I said, like, you don't really know where money's gonna come from. It just kind of comes in chunks. Like sales would be really low and then somebody would offer me like $2,000 for this site. And all it was is like, okay, PayPal half up front, I transferred the domain to them, and it was done. Like it was a very easy transaction. And I did that. So like I said, I was getting very arrogant and cocky, and I thought my business was invincible. Google hit that button, everything disappeared, and I was screwed.
As far as like SEO disappeared?
Well, my sites didn't disappear, but they just didn't rank anymore. And in treating, like, I've always had the mentality I'll win on repetition. So I had so many sites that, like, not every site made money. But the sites that did, like, for every, like, 15, 20 sites I'd make, one would make, like, 20, 30 bucks a day. So if you know those statistics, how many sites are you going to make? So I just kept making them. And when they all disappeared, like, they didn't all disappear. But I was, like, I had it was very consistent, $250 to like $500 a day. Like, and that was like literally making money. Like, it didn't matter what I did the next day. Those sites were ranked. They didn't go anywhere. That money was coming. As long as the product I was selling on the sites didn't like change or like, you know, I had to constantly swap out products because like you get like burnout if you're getting enough people. But when Google did that kibosh, like it all went away, and I learned really quickly my business was built on sand, and I have nothing to fall back on. I did, however, still have that email list, but they didn't really know me. Like, the BMXers were still on there, and I was still emailing, so they kind of knew me, but all the new people, and my list got up to about, I think it was around like 25, 30K, but 20,000 of those people had no clue or care about me at all, you know? But they would still, I knew I could still send money, so what I did was, what I had to do at that point, I was scrambling to like pay rent and pay bills, and you know, like, I was constantly paying bills late, and I was sending multiple emails a day with the sole intention on just making sales from that email. And you can do that for a while, but eventually that burns out too. But I had to pay it. So basically, I burned all the goodwill I had built up on that email list. I burned it within 6 months trying to just stay afloat. And then this is the time frame that me and Kristen, if you guys know the VSL that was done for 51 Handsome Guy Secrets. That was like a true story for the most part. It's embellished like, you know, a little bit, but we were going through some problems, and mainly the problems ended up being me not accepting that maybe I needed to grow up a little bit. I still had that chip on my shoulder. I thought I was still like smarter than everybody, and we broke up. And during that time frame, that's when I created I had one product up my sleeve, was the 101 Ways. So like we ended up breaking up, and like I was like, thankfully I could finish that product because like I would have been really depressed and all out of sorts. But I just kind of like really focused on that product to get it out and make it. I wrote all the copy for that myself. Like you can see it. Like, and actually it's funny because a lot of the men's testosterone products that are out there right now, like I've just stolen parts of my copy from that, and just it's funny to me because like I wrote it in Panera Bread, like a couple miles up the road. You know, it is so. I got a little ranted off there. So basically, let's go to. But what I like this in so that was my affiliate marketing journey to like product creator, and the realization that I needed to create something lasting as far as like I needed to put my face on something. Hence this situation where people could trust me. And I'd watched like Elliot's brand was really growing. Another one of my friends, Chris Barnard, he's supposed to stop by today. His brand was growing really well. Like a lot of my friends, like Jason Capital's, Brent, like all my friends were growing, doing the stuff that I was already doing, but I just didn't have that, like, something to give. Like, I was good at, like, the hobby of making money on the internet. And, you know, mind you, I learned a lot of valuable skills. But once I found style, like, as in something I was passionate about, and I saw an opportunity where I could help people, then all those things came together, and I was like, okay, this is the strategy. This is what I'm going to do. I'm make one product. I mean, invest. Luckily, like, I mean, a lot of people don't know this, but Jason Capital, 51 Handsome Guy Secrets, the VSL, is a very expensively produced, high production value video sales letter. And I didn't know, like, the process behind all that until I went through it. Basically what he did was, and this is like, kind of goes like, you guys took a risk to come here, you know, like, and you never know where trips are going to take you. Well, I took a trip. I was still single, living with Danny, actually, and he probably remembers it. I didn't buy any furniture, mind you, when I moved in. I had an air mattress, and I bought no furniture. I just literally bought clothes. And he was like, what are you doing? Yeah, like we were like couch money. Like literally, that's how things were at this point. But I launched the 101 Ways, and it did good enough. But I knew that was short term. I knew like I needed to figure out my plan. But it was like that release, and it gave me like 6-8 months to figure shit out. So in that 6-8 months is where I found style. Like I was like, I need to change myself, change my image, and give this gift. Like now I have something like I can do. So I spent like, I don't even know, like I did it all the time. I'm big on using my notepad on my phone. So like we'd go out a lot, but I'd always be on my phone, like notes and stuff. And I was like, what can we call it? And originally, like I knew 101 Ways, so it's like a good title. So I was like, 101 Ways to Dress Better was like what I originally wanted to call it. And I had it like all written out. And I took a trip to, there's a big marketing conference called Traffic and Conversion Summit. It happens every year. It's like, if you guys can go to it, it's incredible. But don't go in the room and learn anything. Just go and hang out with everybody outside. Like, because I also learned early on that there are conferences you go to learn, and there are ones you go to just to be around the people that aren't in the conference. And this trip I was about to do was like the solidifier of that. At this point, my friend Jason Capital was killing it in the dating world. There was another product called a guy named Brad Howard and John Barbin and Brad Pilon. They created Eat Stop Eat, which was a massive fitness brand about fasting. Brad Pilon created that. It was the first product ever on fasting, which fasting is massive now online. But so there's that, and then Brad Howard and John Barbin created what's called the Adonis Index, which was a massive product. And I had become friends with Brad over the years, and Brad was friends with Jason Capital. And when I showed up, at this point, like Elliot had kind of stopped talking to me. Jason Capital, like I was friends with him before. He had kind of like, I was in like a bad place. So not a lot of my, like a lot of people kind of like separated themselves from me. I show up at the event. I had not seen Jason Capital for a while, or Brad Howard, or any of these guys. And I was a completely different person. I had found style. I had dressed better. Like I redid my image. Like I was like a good looking dude now who looked like I was successful. I had my shit together. So Jason Capital and Brad, we go out, and what you do at conferences like those, like the real action happens like outside the room or at night. You just want to go to every party. Like, and there will be a lot of them, especially at events like that, you know. And I learned that if I could find the cool group of guys, and most of the time those guys were going to a club that night and they're probably going to buy bottle service, and I couldn't afford that, so I just had to figure out my way in somehow. But, you know, like that's where the cool shit happened. And at that event, you know, Jason Capital and Brad were like, dude, like, and they like completely saw it change and were like, what's going on? And then like we went out that night, we all went drinking. This is in San Diego, and they were making like massive money, like unfathomable money that I couldn't even wrap my head around. And they're like, yo, it's been a dream of mine. I want to take a private jet to Vegas tomorrow. I'm like, God, you guys are really drunk, aren't you? Like, and then Brad Howard's like, you do that, I'll pay for you want to stay at the Cosmopolitan? I'll get the bungalow suite. I'm like, Ryan, you want to go? And I'm like, now mind you, I just spent every penny I had flying to San Diego. to learn. I actually bought the ticket to this event, like, which was $700, which I didn't have. Didn't have the money to go there. I had like $400 in my account, if that, and like a credit card with like 12 bucks on it. You know, like, so I'm like, sure, yeah, let's take a private jet to Vegas. Why not? It's what everybody does, right? I just assumed they were all drunk. Yeah, so the next day, I also had a hotel room I was paying for. Like, I show up thing, and they're like, where's your bag? I'm like, what do you mean, where's my? It's in my hotel room. Like, we're going to Vegas. The limo comes in like 30 minutes. Go get your bag. And I'm like, you guys are serious? This is real. I'm like, but I got this seminar. They're like, go get your bag. And I'm like, okay. Took a cab back, got my bag. That within like 2 hours, we had just touched down in Las Vegas. We were in a limo going to the hotel and proceeded to drink and party VIP like for 2 days. But while all that was fun, there was one conversation that was with Jason Capital we were at Marquee, which is like a really popular club. He had just paid for bottle service, and he had a very big ego at the time. If you guys meet Jason Capital, you'll learn that. He's all about the show. Like, he made it a point to pay for all the bottles in cash. So he has like a big wad of cash that he's paying for, and I'm just like, so he's like, what are you working on? He's like, what spawned this? There's like, we were both pretty drunk, but it was when the good heart-to-hearts came out, and like, and I was like, yeah, I really think I like this fashion thing. And he's like, let me see it. He was like, what have you been working on? He's like, you want to email it to me? And I was like, actually, I got it on my phone. And like, I showed him the notepad with like 100 ways to dress better, and he was like, this is awesome. He's like, the dating people need this. And mind you, I was single at the time, like still kind of like depressed, didn't really know like what was going on. So from like the next day, we were hanging out again, like by the pool with VIP again. And I was like, this is awesome. Like, but he's like, guys want to be handsome. And I'm like, it was like out of nowhere. And I'm like, yeah, I guess they do. He's like, 101's too much. It's like 51. I'm like, not 50? He's like, no, 51. I'm like, 51 handsome secrets. And I'm like, wrote it down. And after that, like, we talked on the phone shortly after. And he's like, yeah, he saw an opportunity. He's like, I want to publish this, which means that he wants to take half the revenue. You'll learn that if people, but I knew for me, the quality of that first product was going to be much higher than what I could do on my own. Like, I could have, like, we'd probably still be sitting here had I, like, that not happened, but it would have been a different path. Like, there'd be different things but so he's like, all right, I'm gonna have my copywriter, and it was like a freaking fast after that. Like, and that's another thing I learned really quickly. Everything happens with speed. And when you have a team behind you, which he did, it happens even faster. So, like, I had, like, within, like, 2 days of me coming home, like, I was all excited. I was on the phone with a copywriter, basically just talking about my story. And there was, like, a defining moment, too, which, like, it's funny because I talk about it with Kristen. Like, we were going to take the VSL, whether or not, like, I was going to continue on the future of just having sex with a lot of random girls. Or I was going to get back together with my girlfriend, which was in the process of happening. Me and her were talking again. There was a good chance. I was like, well, I don't want to be, like, a pickup artist. So I opted for the other way, but I would have made a lot more money had I gone the other direction too. But that was the decision I had to make. And you're gonna have to make decisions like that if you're doing things like, okay, 5 years from now, what's gonna be known about this? Like, think about that now. And I didn't want to be a pickup artist. I didn't want that label, because, where would we be 5 years from now? I have a daughter and a girlfriend of like 6 years. It's a disconnect. I'd have to keep up an image that I wouldn't want to keep up. And there's a lot of smoke and mirrors on the internet. You'll learn that as you go. So I created that. But within like a 3-week span, I had been interviewed by a professional copywriter, as in, like, we recorded an hour or two phone call of like everything that happened like in my life, like all the intricate details. And then probably 2 weeks later, I got a script. And I'm only telling you this because this is the amount of work that comes into a 30-minute video that sells a product. I get a script. And I'm like, Jason calls me. He's like, all right, you're gonna need to go get that recorded. I'm like, okay. I was like, what do you recommend? Like my iPhone in my bathroom? And he's like, no. And he sends me like a link to a recording studio here in St. Pete. And I was like, he's like, you got that? And it was like $500. I'm like, yeah. Like, So it was like I booked like 2 hours at the recording studio, and I filmed this. Like literally, it was like I felt like Jay-Z. I was like reading a script off my phone, talking into a microphone like I was rapping. Like, and then like we took that file. Then that guy was an audio engineer. He cleaned up the file. He sent it to the copywriter. Then the copywriter went over it, made sure I said everything correctly, because there was literally notes for when to talk louder and when to talk lower. Like, as far as when people, so like, I mean, you guys can go watch that video, you'll notice it now, but there is a lot of intricate shit going on in that video that I had no idea that existed when I started. And like a week or two later, I got the video back. It was amazing. It was just a video and my audio, and like then they sent it. He had another guy that did like the crazy animated slides. Now, mind you, he's paying for all this. I still to this day don't know how much it costs, but I'm assuming it was close to between everything around $10,000 to $15,000 to produce that video. And I had like about 2 months from that conversation in Vegas, drunk at Marquee, I had a finished VSL that was about to like launch, and like I was broke again, like everything's riding on this product, and I was like, all right. And I released it to my list, which what I did during that time frame, I took that same list and I was like, I was hardcore selling these affiliate products still, like to make money. I was selling the testosterone. I was like, all right, I can't, so I was like, I can't keep doing this and build the goodwill. So I had to make the decision that I was like, for 6 months, I'm not going to sell anything to this list. And that's when I started making the YouTube videos every day, and all I would do is link to my YouTube videos. I didn't really have the product to sell yet, but I knew that I would build goodwill, and I was like, all I was banking on was I'd amass enough goodwill that when I released 51 Handsome Guy Secrets, that I made enough to get by. And fortunately, that did happen, but it was a very uncertain time as far as like, we're going to talk about, later on today, is like, you have to do things with like kind of like it's going to be okay over here, but not so much here. But you're looking at this, hoping. And when we released it the first day, I remember the first day I launched it, like the first few hours, I didn't make any sales. I was freaking the fuck out. And I was like texting Jason, I'm like, oh my God, like he's like, just relax. He's like, so we started like, he's like, test this, put this headline on there, do this. And I'm like, okay, so I'm changing the site. Like, and next thing you know, it's like 1 sale, 2 sales, 3, 4, and then they just started rolling in. And I think over the course of 7 days, we sold, it was like 350 copies of that. It was $47 front end. There was a continuity attached to it, which is not something I don't like doing now. But that was like in the stipulation. He's like, this is how you really make money. So, so when you bought, there was automatically, you were gonna get charged $59 a month unless you canceled. So when I first made the product, I had made, like the actual filming of the product took, it was 51 videos at 3 to 5 minutes each. And that's why I say, you guys, like there's so much content. Like you have to be able to just produce. I could have gotten away with half those videos. Like I don't know what the fuck I was saying in some of them. But I was just listing them out and making content, and
Pretty good, actually.
yeah, there was a lot that went into that product, like because Jason didn't want to put his investment in it. He's very big, like even though he does some things that I don't really agree with, and I'm sure I do stuff he doesn't like, but one thing that is he puts like so much production value into everything he does, and I learned that from him during that process, and that was I would say a transformative moment, because it's like that has then spilled over to now everything I do, But he was insistent. He's like, dude, the way this stuff works is you don't make money on that $47 product. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, he's like, no, you make money on the recurring. So I know you just made these 51 videos, but what are we going to give them for the next 12 weeks? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I got to come up with more fashion content. So we ended up making what I called, and he's like, we're going to call it Trendsetters. And that was James, but he's like, we're going to call it Trendsetters. And Trendsetters is going to be a 12-week course. That's, you get 14 days free unless you cancel, and then every week you get a new video. And so I didn't have any of that done when I released that product. I only had the first video. So what people don't know is like, I had 12 weeks of drip-fed content that people were getting, that I just had to beat the wave. I just had to have that next video put out before I knew everybody was going to get the email saying your new content's ready. And I did. It was, it was like, and I think there's like 14 weeks of content in there, and it's like some good shit, like 40-minute videos of me like just talking about different aspects of fashion. But the money started, like that whole thing, he's like, what's going to happen is you're going to have that continuity, and it's going to give you some more time to grow your brand. And in the time frame, so most people cancel within like 3 to 4 months. There's really no way to stop that when they come in like that. I mean, I have Handsome Guy Insider now. It's more based off of, I mean, people know they're getting into a continuity before they join. So there's a different mentality there. Like the people that were coming in, like you could uncheck the box, and we made it very clear and easy to uncheck, but people don't read sites. And I mean, for the most part, like I was banking on them not reading because I knew that as long as I'm delivering that content, it's there, you know. So, but that was the, that gave me, and then I knew I had about 6 months before, like I was like, everybody's gonna fucking cancel, so I got 6 months of more money coming in. And that's when I was doing videos every single day. And then I released a follow-up product, which is Bad Boy Unleashed. He was a partner in that again, same production value, recording studio, like, you know. And then it was, what did I do after that? Then it was the Halo effect, and then, I mean, I was just a machine from that point forward. And that's like, but what I was doing was, that stuff mattered, but what really mattered was the consistency on YouTube and the emailing. Like, I still wasn't leading with, like, I need to make money. I was still like, hey, I got this product. If you want it, it's cool, but I'm still going to drop all this value on you regardless if you buy anything or not. And I think most people, and I didn't hold anything back. I mean, everything in 51 Handsome Guy Secrets is on YouTube. Like, there is nothing that I hid. You know, and that was another mindset shift too, but people attach values to certain things when they pay for it, you know, and you'll learn that too. It's like no matter what, you have to, you know, you have to give away good free shit, but most of the time the good free shit is the shit you have to sell anyways, but you just say it different ways and people will buy it. So that is, so that's like, and now, so what I did right there with style and everything is, I was the polar opposite. So when I attacked YouTube, I wanted to be I saw the glaring opportunity of like merging pickup and style, and that's what I did even with the products. I was setting myself up for success right away because I didn't care if anybody in style liked me. All I wanted was all the dating guys to promote me. And I already had the in. That was why I partnered with Jason. That was why, like, if you partner with somebody that's already connected, you're gonna not fail. What up, James? If you bought any products from my stuff, he probably wrote the sales page. So, but yeah, so I was the polar opposite, and what I saw, like the guys in this future, like I had become friends with Elliot, and I had watched Elliot's success, and the one thing that he did was he fucking is right up in that camera. So you look at my videos, that's why I'm like right up in your face. And we'll talk about it in a little bit, but that's like influence. Like I want you to stare at my eyes. Like there's a reason I bought a ring light, which lights up my eyes. Like behind the curtain, like I want my eyes to glow at you because you trust somebody that you look into their eyes. So I took like what I saw Elliot's success working on YouTube, and then I looked at what was already going on. Like Aaron Marino already had a really good following. Antonio did, and they were just more or less bland. Like I just think they make great content, but they weren't in your face, like, you know. And I just came in as me because it was my personality. Like I wasn't trying to be somebody I'm not, you know. I just was me on camera, but enhanced, and that over time built up. I got to 10,000 subscribers pretty quick, and then that was right around the time that they invited me to speak at StyleCon. When I went to StyleCon, I became friends with all of the other style guys. I started getting collabs and shout outs, and eventually you're gonna wanna meet all the other people in your niche to get collabs and shout outs because there's no other way to fast grow anything when somebody that's cool already tells you that they should follow you. You know, so, and those things, you can't force those to happen. It's like they happen when like you're ready for it to happen kind of thing. So it's like, but a lot of people go into it wrong. Like they're like, I just want to become friends with this guy too because I want to use him for his audience. Like if you have that mindset, it's just not going to work. You may get some shout outs, but it will never be as successful. Because in learning what I had learned was selling all the affiliate products, that once my values and karma kind of settled into like, okay, this is, you know, what I need to do, like, I need to really actually want to help people, then the money, like, I always say it will be okay. Like, something will happen, a surge of money will come. And it has always happened that way. There's been some scary times, but something always happens. And I'm like, whew, we're good for another month or two. Like, and that's like, but you have to be able to keep working and keep producing content during all of this. And I think that that's going back on where I see most people fail. They don't keep pushing through when this starts happening. Like, because I've seen a lot of people make a lot of money, like hundreds of thousands of dollars on like product launches, and then they just don't do anything. I mean, $100,000 is a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money in 2 years. What are you going to do then? Like, but nobody thinks about that, because then they go live that life and show how cool they are. They buy an expensive car, they put it on Instagram, and they build this, and it's just like, well, that was an expensive month for you. What are you going to do now? You know, like, so have these mindsets going into like what you're doing, and that's like, and a lot of people that did that, like, that isn't really possible now, because I think the internet will flush out fake people very fast. You know, there's a reason, like, I mean, like, love him or hate him, but Ty Lopez, like, that is his life. That's why people like him. Like, he's not faking it. He does have, like, for whatever reason, 7 Ferraris or something. Like, I mean, it's a little easier to make yourself look cool when you have 7 Ferraris, but for the normal person, it's probably not going to have 7 Ferraris. Nor do they, I think anybody would want that, you know. But you have to be this, like, the reason why when I started the style and it worked was it was me. And I had a lot of things that we're going to talk about influence in like the next presentation, but it's when you can relate to people on a deep core level. Like, a lot of people related to me getting dumped by my girlfriend. That was on purpose. Like, and we had to attach a specific item to, like, so there was the hoodie in the video, which I actually did have a hoodie that I wore all the time. It was beat up. It wasn't a Monster hoodie, but we just put that because, once again, people relate to Monster. Like, so, like, once you kind of have an understanding of what's happening, you can do things to make people like you more. And, like, I'm going to go through all those in a second, but that brings me to what I've